Hello and welcome to another Unity C# tutorial. This is Raja, and in this video we're going to learn another very useful way to take inputs using Input.GetAxis. Now I think most of the time whenever I build some controls for the player or something, for most of the task I use this technique or this input control, and I guess most of the people does that. So this is very important, so you need to pay special attention to this. Okay, so let's get started. So as I've said you before in the previous videos, that if we go to edit, project settings, input, from here you can see that we have already this predefined axes that are set up by default from previously. Okay, now here you can see we have these two axes on the top. We have horizontal and the vertical axis. So if I click on the horizontal axis, as you can see, the negative button is left and the positive button is right, and in case of a vertical, the negative button is down and positive button is up. Okay, so these are the left, right, up and down arrow keys of our keyboard, and as you can see the alternative button is ADSW. So this is basically the left, right, up and down control buttons. So when we will do when we'll use our axis, we're going to use this horizontal and vertical to map the left and right and up and down keyboard inputs. Okay, so let's see how to do that. So as I've said you that in this video we'll learn how to take inputs by using Input.GetAxis. Now the main reason or the main question is, why do we need that? Why can't we get just input by using Input.getKey or Input.getButtonDown and all that? I know both of those are very important, but whenever we want to take some continuous inputs, in those cases Input.getAxis is more important than they. So as an example, suppose I have a plane on my scene. Suppose I am building a space shooter game and I have a plane or spaceship on the scene, and I want to move the spaceship left and right by continuously pressing the left arrow key. So suppose I am pressing the left arrow key, not repeatedly, but I have pressed it, and by this I mean that I have pressed it and the ship is moving continuously at the left, and then I'm pressing the right arrow key continuously. I have pressed it continuously and the ship is moving to the right. So in these cases the Input.GetAxis is more useful, because using Input.GetAxis we can using Input.GetAxis we can get a continuous input. Okay, so suppose when we are pressing the arrow key for the first time, the speed or the value of the axis will be very little, but when we press continuously for a certain amount of time, it will move the value, and after a certain time the value will go to a maximum amount, and after that it will not increase anymore. By default the value is set as 0 to the minimum and 1 to the maximum. Okay, so let's see that in action. If you don't take any examples, I think it will be pretty complicated to you, so believe me that after taking this example this will be pretty simple. So if you want to take inputs, you just need to write Input.GetAxis, and inside this getAxis function, as a string you need to pass from which axis you want to take the input. So as we have seen before, that we have these two predefined axes. This is horizontal and vertical, which helps us to get inputs from the left, right, and the up and down arrow keys. So first of all, let's write here horizontal. So this horizontal will help us to get input from the left and right and A and D keys. Okay, so for each frame we are getting a different value of this axis. Since we are continuously pressing this button, so we will get first of all a low value, then the value will increase, and after a certain amount of time it will reach the maximum value. So for each frame inside the update function, we need to store the value inside a variable. Let's say we store it inside X. So each frame a new value of x will be here. And the same way for y, we're gonna do the same thing, and here we're gonna do Input.GetAxis, and here we'll pass vertical. So the vertical will give us input from the up and down and the W and S keys. Okay, so whenever we press the up and down keys continuously, we will get the input from the vertical axis, and when we press the left and right key, we'll get input from the horizontal axis. And when we are not pressing anything, we will get 0 value from each of the axes. Okay, so let's here do one more thing. Let's try to print the values. Okay, let's not try to print the values, but instead of that, what you can do is we can we can move an object by this value. So what we can do is, now the test is attached to this game object. Instead of that, let's create a 3D object. Let's create a 2D object. Okay, 3D object, and create a quad. And in the quad, we're gonna add scripts and this test, that is the script that we are working, and we're gonna disable this game object because we're gonna need that anymore. We don't need that anymore. So we have attached this script to the quad and the test, and we're gonna move this quad by using our script. Okay, so let's say we get the x value inside x and the y value or the vertical value inside y, and now we're gonna move the object by this amount of value each frame. Okay, so what we can do is we can write transform that position, not that way. Let's write the small transform dot, and do you remember the function transform the translate? Hope you remember the function because we used it in few videos ago, and if you check out the previous videos you will learn about that. So this translate function takes an input, as a parameter takes a vector 3, or it takes x, y and z value, as you can see here. So the x value, for the x value you can pass the x, for the y value you can pass the y, and for the z value you can pass 0. Okay, so by this way what we will do is each frame will get a different value of x and y, and we will move the game object by that amount each frame. So let's see that in action. I know you guys will be disappointed because it will not work the way you want. As you can see, it moves pretty fast, and if I just press it, it will move too fast, so I can't just press it. Okay, so in order to just make it move in an usual way, what we can do is we need to multiply these things by time dot delta time. Again, we're gonna multiply this y by time dot delta time, and this time if I run it now, as you can see, now it moves pretty slow. Okay, but it at least gets the behavior that we want. So we are pressing the left key continuously and it is moving continuously. If I just lift my finger from it, then it will stop, and for the right key it moves right, for the up key it moves up, for the down key it moves down. Okay, so what happens is, how can we get the left and right both inputs inside X? So when we are pressing the left key, the value of this horizontal axis input is negative, so it is moving in the left direction. And when we are pressing the right key, then this horizontal axis, the value of this horizontal axis which is getting passed to this X, is positive, so that is why it is moving to the right direction. And the same thing happens for this Y. Okay, whenever we are pressing the up key, the value of the vertical axis is positive, and we are pressing the down key, the value of the vertical axis is negative, and when we are not pressing anything, the value is 0. So that is why it is not translating by any value. Okay, and if you want to get a more suitable input, then what you can do is you can just create a public float speed variable so that you can give it a value, and instead of multiplying time to delta time here, what you can do is you can multiply it directly here. You can multiply it by time dot delta time multiply speed, and then again here you can multiply it by time dot delta time, and then again multiply it by speed. So what will happen is here you don't need to pass anything. Here you can pass just x and y and it will work. So either you can multiply it by directly here, or you can multiply it by here. So first of all, we are multiplying it by time dot delta time, and then we are multiplying by a speed that we want it to move by. So okay, so now we can control the speed from here. Let's make the speed 5. Okay, 5. So now it moves pretty good. If we make the speed 10, it moves faster. If we make the speed 20, it moves really faster. And again, if we make the speed just 5, it moves pretty slower. Okay, so by this way, using Input.GetAxis, we can get a really awesome movement input. Okay, so whenever you are using it for movement specifically, you need to use the Input.GetAxis, but it is more reasonable to use Input.GetAxis than using other input methods in this case. So I hope you guys enjoyed this video, learned something. Thank you very much for watching this video, and make sure to like and share and subscribe to my channel. So thank you very much. Have a great day. See you in another video.